My name is Carrie Wilkerson. I have been an online business coach since approximately 1902. I have been around a really long time. We started our online business when it was still dial up. So no, I'm not using filters on my face. I really am that old. My kids are older than most of you guys, but I kept having kids, so I also have some young ones. They range in age from 14, 17, 24, and 26. One is married, two graduated from college, and one's still in high school. The reason I tell you that is because, do the math. I've been doing business with toddlers, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, pregnant, in a pandemic, homeschooling, private schooling, public schooling, chronic illness, and special needs, all of it. So don't say to me, but Carrie, I'm busy. That won't play. Don't say to me, but I have little kids at home. I've been there and done that. My kids were not born at their current ages. Don't say to me, when I lose weight, when I feel better about myself, when I'm more confident or confident. I've also lost 150 pounds. I've also worked with dial-up internet. I also did business before the internet. It's not going to play. So this is why Justin and Shauna love working with me. You have no excuses. No excuses. Now, write down this definition of excuse. You ready? A mentor said this to me when I was in my 20s, and it hurt, but it was true, and I can't get it out of my head. She said, an excuse is a lie that you're telling. Write it down. An excuse is a lie that you're telling that nobody believes but you. An excuse is a lie that you're telling that nobody believes but you. But I don't have time. Well, you do have time. Let's find the time. We all have the same amount of time. If you want to feel like a slug, look at what J-Lo and Lin-Manuel Miranda accomplish in a normal day, or Cal Newport, or some of those guys. And yes, they may have some team or some staff or some whatever, but it starts with making those important appointments. How many of you, if you have a full-time job in addition to the business that you're building, please type yes into the chat. If you have a full-time job in addition to what you're building, and by full-time job, I also mean if you're a stay-at-home parent, full-time with stay-at-home kids. Yeah. Okay. You have a full-time job so you're building in the cracks. You're building in the cracks. I get it. So that means the cracks have to matter. They have to be important. Your why has to be bigger than your why bother. Otherwise, you're going to wait till another day. I got a really sad text right before we logged on. My husband's best friend is 52 years old, and we just got a notice that he's not coming out of the hospital from COVID, that he died overnight. He's been sick, and he died overnight, and we're devastated. We're devastated. He's 52. So much time, right? So much time left to see the kids grow up. So much time to see the kids get married or, graduate college or all those things. And I'm sure there were things in his life he put off until later, he and his wife, himself. Guys, we don't know what tomorrow brings. We really don't. You have to decide on that lifestyle and that journey right now. And you have to make every day matter. There are people that I have coached that have been on my list for 20 years that have said to me, I'm fixing to, I'm getting ready, I'm learning, I'm about to, my plan is. And guess how much your potential makes, you guys? Type in the chat if you know how much your potential is worth. Do you know how much your potential is worth? Somebody paying you for that? Zip, zip, absolutely zip. Only your action can be profitable. So set your goals, make them immediate, and create a burning why for yourself. Even if you're busy, you can do things in the short term. It doesn't have to be hustle. It doesn't have to be grind, but it does have to be intentional and intense. Intentional and intense. All right. But you say, Carrie, I'm so busy. I have so much going on. I have very little time to work on this. And there's so many things to do. Do I implement YouTube? Do I implement blogs? Do I implement, what do I do? If you ever struggle with having too much to do and you don't know what to do first, like overwhelm, if you've ever experienced overwhelm, put an O in the chat and let's just see if I'm the only one here. Has anybody ever experienced overwhelm? You don't know what to tackle first? Okay, good. I don't mean good that you're overwhelmed. I mean good that I'm not the only one. Okay, so I've created an exercise that I walk all my clients through that helps you know what to work on in your business and when. You can also do this in your personal life. You can also do this in your job. Daniel says, yep, because everything's important. But some things are more important than others, Daniel, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. So let me see if I can share screen. I've just gotten fancy lately, taught myself how to draw on my iPad. That's something I promise you I was not doing 20 years ago. Okay, I call this the motive matrix. So this is mine. So if you run through this with clients or if you post about it, it's mine. Be nice. Credit people where credit is due. The motive matrix boils down to the fact that there are 5 primary motives in your business. 5 primary motives in your business. There are 5 reasons that you are doing what you're doing. Okay. Now, those 5 reasons, because I'm a keynote speaker and because I'm a preacher's kid, I like to use alliteration. I think it helps you learn better and hang your hook on things better. So what I will say is they all start with the letter P. You ready? 5 motives in your business. Number 1, and you can write these down. Just get a blank piece of paper. It doesn't have to be super fancy, but the 5 core motives in everybody's business are profits, right? We get that. Profits. Type in some additional words for profit in the chat. Other ways that will help you think of that. Profits. Prosperity, maybe. Prosperity is kind of a philosophical word. It's kind of an umbrella. Back to when we talked about lifestyle, but what else? Profits, it doesn't have to start with P. Cash flow, profitability, revenue, money words, guys. Come on, type some money words. Abundance, yep. Profits. I'm gonna have to train you guys to be more interactive. You guys are like those students at school just sitting and listening. We're not having that. Sales, return on ad spend, income, ROI. Okay, so profits might be your core motive. There's another motive in business, and that is something that everybody thinks they need more of. Prospects. Prospects is a number 2. I'm not putting these in any order yet. That's going to be up to you in a little bit. Okay. What are some other things that we call our prospects? What are some other words that we use for prospects? Type that in the chat. Leads, your list, right? Your audience. Yep. Profits, prospects. Number 3, we're going to call this one products. Now, let's not get this twisted. If you are a service business, you do things for someone, you trade your skills to someone, your product is you or your agency, right? That's you or your agency. If you are an information marketer, you may have courses. If you are a coach, you may have a group program or a one-to-one program. Products is what you are exchanging for money. So this might be your offer, your service, your suite, your agency, your boutique. Okay. All right. Number 4, I like to call this one pathways. Pathways. This is your funnel, your process, your from the time you meet someone to you talk to them about what you do till you take their money, till you deliver it. Funnel, process, pathway. That's what this is. This does not have to be complicated, and this one can be a trap because a lot of you, I don't know if you heard, but I'm a tough love also. So a lot of you love to hide out in pathways and create and perfect and tweak and measure your funnels, and you're not making enough offers. When I get my funnel right, ooh, when I get this sexier funnel, ooh, if I could have so-and-so's funnel, oh, let me go reverse engineer their funnel. Stop that mess, you guys. That's not always your number 1 motive in business, which we're going to see in a minute. And the last one, this is another one sometimes we get in love with. and we think we have to do before everything else, and that's platform. Obviously, by now you see that you do not have to have great handwriting in order to have a good business. Platform, another word for that, credibility, authority, um, social proof, being seen with important people, being endorsed by important people, maybe a book, maybe, being heard on podcasts. That's platform. These are the 5 core motives for every business, no matter what the business model. These are the 5 core motives. Now, think the problem is what happens to us is we say, which is the most important? Which is the most important? And then, like somebody said earlier, well, it's all of them. All of them are equally important. And I will say, no, sir, no, ma'am, nope, nope, nope. They are not all equally important all the time. You have to make a decision about what you're pursuing right now. Do we have any movie watchers in the room? If you have seen Sweet Home Alabama, type yes in the chat if you've seen Sweet Home Alabama, or okay, good. Or if you've read my book, or if you have studied Friedrich Nietzsche. I will say this all boils down to one point. In Sweet Home Alabama, they say it perhaps best. They say you cannot ride 2 horses with one ass sugar bean. That's what he says. You cannot ride 2 horses with one hiney. You cannot do it. We as humans are psychologically wired to focus on a primary motive. So let's think about your business right now. Let me run through a couple of these. Profits are always important, but sometimes your profits are going along nicely, and that's not where you have to focus, number one. Prospects are always important, but if you don't have some of these other things lined up in the right way, your prospects are being wasted. 100,000 people thrown at the wrong offer with the wrong price and no pathway is a waste. You might as well just be burning ad dollars. Has anybody ever burned up ad dollars? Type fire in the chat if you've burned up ad dollars or wasted fire. Yeah, that one was quick. Yeah, same. Okay, products. You can build a multi-million-dollar business with 1 or 2 products, and I think you know that, especially if you're an agency. But even if you're an info marketer or a coach, you can make great money with 1 product. You don't have to be always creating, always developing. Pathways can be very simple. A few years ago, a lot of us used a hosting platform called HostGator. That'll tell you a little bit about like how long we've been around. And HostGator had a crazy couple of years. Like we had more downtime than uptime. And so a lot of us just kind of gave up and started doing business with just like our YouTube channel and a PayPal checkout and email. I mean, we just kind of went around the website altogether. And that's a funnel. The funnel was email to a PayPal link, and then we delivered either on YouTube or conference calls or webinars or whatever it is. That's a pathway, but you have to know how you're serving up those things. Sometimes you have a gap, like your autoresponder is not going out, or sometimes you know you need to build something for secure content, but sometimes that's the most important thing. Sometimes, very rarely, platform is the most important thing. So maybe you know what you need is some credibility or some social proof or some reinforcement in the industry. Sometimes that comes in the form of a book or by endorsing someone else's book or by speaking on the same stage as someone or by getting a testimonial from someone. But you cannot get caught up in that if you're hurting in the other areas. So right now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take 30 seconds and rank these in ascending order. There are no ties allowed. Rank them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in what order these are important in your business. And this doesn't have to be for life. Okay, look at me. Just for this quarter, just from now till the end of the year, write it down on your paper. You don't have to tell me. Write it down on your paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which is the most important? Which is the least important? Don't overthink it. Don't over puzzle it. Don't be married to what you're working on now. Just say, oh crap, she's right. This is the most important thing I have to knock out in the next 2 weeks. This is what's going to make the biggest difference overall to my business in the next 3 weeks. This is what I have to focus on right now. If I had one thing I could focus on right now, and then I know I'm going to be hospitalized for an emergency surgery, this would be the one thing I have to get done. Create some urgency and then rank it. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you have more than one business, then just rank in order the one business that's making the biggest difference to your life right now. And if you have more than one, that may be part of the issue of why you're having a hard time focusing too. But that's a whole other call. Okay? You got those ranked? Anybody want to share? Anybody want to wave at the camera? By the way, if you don't have your camera on, how come? Wave at the camera and tell me if you want to share, or type in the chat if you want to share. Who wants to share? Wave at the camera. Drew, unmute yourself. Tell me.
Okay, I'm on. All right. I ordered it as products, platform, pathway, prospects, profits.
Okay, tell me why.
Well, I started with platform and then pathway, and then I got down to products, and I given there's some opportunities where if I had a product, I could joint venture with someone and get on his platform, but I don't have that. So then I move that up in front of everything else.
Okay, everybody write down the word opportunities in parentheses under your list. Write down opportunities. Also write down FOMO, really big, FOMO. Okay, so your number 1 is products, and your number 2 is what?
Platform.
Platform. So by platform, do you mean like a joint venture platform, or a partnership platform, or a getting in front of somebody audience platform?
Just I don't feel like I've put the energy forward to expressing my own authority, credibility, proof, those things.
Nice. Okay. All right. Anybody else want to share? Wave at the camera. Somebody else want to share? Don't be scared. I'm really nicer than you've heard. Really, guys? Really? Don't make me call on you. I used to teach high school. I will call on you if you do not raise your hand. Who wants to share? Anybody? Harry, I see you backing away from the camera. Harry, unmute yourself. Oh, look, he's trying to unmute yourself, Harry. Let's hear it.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Harry?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well.
Good.
Thank you for picking on me.
Yep, you're welcome.
I joined this quite late, so I apologize. I may not be the best person to pick because I'm not quite up to speed with where we're at in the training.
What would you say your number 1 motive in your business is right now? Profits, prospects, products, pathways, or platform building?
Prospects.
Prospects is Harry's number 1. What about number 2? What would be your secondary?
Profits, early profits.
Profits. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. See, that wasn't so painful. You didn't have to hide about that. Okay. Who else? One more. Let's do one more, and then we're going to do some examples. Anybody? Oh, the value doctrine says cannot because of driving. Okay. We're going to let you off this time. AdSkills coaches, pick somebody for me. We are not going to be a hiding crowd.
I'm gonna go ahead and pick Marcus because that's the last name I typed.
Marcus, unmute yourself. Tell us what your order is. Marcus has maybe stepped away.
Maybe. What about, I typed a few other names. There's Eddie, Corey, Hamoon. Any of these wonderful members want to join?
I can share.
Oh, go ahead, Naima. Is that Naima?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So my first is profit and my second is products.
First is profit and second is products. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing. All right, now here's where this exercise gets really fun. We heard Drew say there are several, what was that word? Opportunities. We are often paralyzed by our opportunities, by the decisions in our inbox, by the opportunity to go speak at all these different things, to be interviewed, to blog, to video, to all the things. Now, from now on, you run all of the things through your motive matrix. Okay? What do I mean by that? First, you have to assign it your number. So if you say that profits is your primary motive, it's your M1. If you say that products is your secondary, then it's your M2. All right, got it? I do this quarterly or sometimes more often if I hit my goals faster. And I put a Post-it note on my computer, on my mirror, all around to remind me of what my M1 and my M2, my motive 1 and my secondary motive are at all times. So here's how the decision making comes into play. I know this is not a fancy graph, but let's say you have some emails or some, what's that word again? Opportunities to participate in something. Let's say your primary is profits, your secondary is products, and somebody in your market is publishing an anthology, like a book, which is a collection from 6 marketers in your industry, and they have asked you if you would like to contribute because of the amazing exposure that it's going to give you, and you'll then be an author, and that's the best business card ever, blah, blah, blah. Would you like to participate? We think you can fit this in, and we so value your contribution. You can say, thanks for thinking of me. And then you look at your matrix and you say, is this book going to make me immediate profits? Yes or no? In most cases, as an author, I will tell you that is a resounding no. It will not. It will not. A book can earn you money in speaking fees or credibility and clients later, but it's a long cycle and it will cost you money in the time it takes out of your business and what it costs you to be part of this anthology. So you say, well, I'm not ready to say no yet. Let's move down to products. Is this book a product that is going to bring me a lot of money or add to my profits in a significant way? Yes or no? I'm talking about the rule, not the exception. Yes or no? It is not an immediately sellable, high profit margin, something that is going to work for you. So I would say no. So you can say without any FOMO, without any decision, this will go really fast for you. Drew can say, thank you so much for that opportunity. However, that doesn't fit with my focus for this quarter. Could we revisit this in September, or can I recommend you a couple of people that this might be a great fit for? Delete, move forward, focus on what you're doing. Conversely, let's say that somebody says to you, hey, I've got this great list and I am not an expert in what you teach and what you do. And I would really love for you to teach a master class to my list and you can make them an offer. We can do an affiliate split and you can make them an offer. Is that something that you'd be interested in? And if your number one, if your primary motive is profits, is that a yes or a no? Not in the camera if that's a yes or a no. If you're making an offer, that's a yes. Yes, you're going to make money off speaking to their list and making an offer. If you have a good offer, you absolutely are. That's a yes for me all day long if profits is my number one. Does it meet the criteria of creating a new product? No. But that's okay because it satisfies your M1. Does that make sense? Now, what's a tertiary benefit of that? What's a third benefit of that? Prospects. It's also going to put people in your email sequence, in your nurture sequence for later, which will then bring you what later on? More profits. So you can see where that's kind of a no-brainer yes right there. Everything. Okay, today I have 3 hours to work on my business. Should I work on funnels today? I learned this new funnel thing. I want to go ahead and implement that. I only have 3 hours. I'm going to work on funnels. Does that meet your matrix? What does it have to do with M1? Type yes or no in the chat if it meets profits, an immediate profit focus. Yes or no. Or just shake your head or nod your head at the camera. Anybody? Yes or no? Tell me. It's a no on immediate profits. It's a pathway focus. So it does help pathways, but pathways is not your focus right now. It might help with prospects later, but it's not your focus right now. So when you are sitting down to work, when Harry sits down to work on his business in the cracks, when he has time, when he's not servicing customers, he can say, I have this list, 20 things that I can implement right now. How does Harry know what to work on? Harry goes to his motive matrix. Does it fit in M1 or M2? Now, it doesn't mean that none of this needs to be done. Some of this absolutely will need to be done. But if it doesn't fit M1 or M2, you should delegate it, automate it, or leave it undone till later. Let me teach you a script to tell yourself. Ready? I give myself permission to wait until November to focus on that funnel. I'm going to put that in my calendar in November to focus on that funnel. In December, I'm going to set aside December when it's a little slower. And that's when I'm going to create my next product or worry about naming the product and rebranding the product. Y'all, rebranding is not making you any money. Stop it. Stop tweaking mess. Stop dealing with your covers and your logos and your fonts. It's not making you any more money. So this is why you need to get clear on your M1 and M2. Delegate it, automate it, leave it till later. Yep, and you don't have to set up the automation or the delegation. Somebody can help you with that. I know that I'm pretty sure that Justin has a training on that, like the rapid replacement or something, doesn't he? I'm pretty sure that's in your portal, a rapid replacement on how to delegate, how to use team, how to outsource so that you're focusing on the things that are going to move the needle biggest in your audience. And guess what? When you're focusing on the things that are going to make the biggest difference in your business at the time that you need to be doing it, it will give you the cash flow or the freedom or the clarity that you need to know what to delegate. And what you're spending time on will be shifting the business monumentally. So when you sit down to work, don't do the things that seem fun. Don't do the things that seem sexy. Do the things that fit your M1 or M2. Now, set a goal for your M1 or M2. And what do I mean by that? Like profits. If profits is your primary, then you can say, okay, so my profits are going to be M1 until I hit the 10K recurring a month. Profits are going to be my focus until I hit that. When I hit that, then I give myself permission to reevaluate what my M1 and M2 are, so then we can shift, because it may be that at 10K, that is now when you can afford to hire someone to build out your funnels or someone to help you format your products. But you have to have a number so that you know when you hit it. If you don't know where you're going, you don't know when you get there. So you have to have that really specific goal for that. Okay, let's open the mic for a minute. Let me stop the share on that. Let's open the mic for a minute. Who has a, oh good, Justin says next week there's a call with Shauna on building a team. That's great. That's perfect timing. Okay, who has a question on how to apply this or something that you see as an exception, or who needs clarity on this? Anyone? Raise your hand or just open your mic, start talking since we're camera shy. Okay, Daniel, let's hear it.
Hey, sorry, cannot open my camera because personal reasons. Anyway,
Okay.
my question is, where is operations come inside? I
Yeah.
have the profit, I have the products, I have all these things. Now I'm finding myself working too many hours because I need to fulfill on everything I built.
Yep. Yep. That's a great question. Hang on, let me pull up my share again.
Thank you, by the way, great stuff.
Yeah, good. I'm glad it's helpful. Operations typically falls under pathways. And if you are the only one that can do delivery or that can do those things, then pathways sometimes means delegation, automation, or hiring somebody to help. This may be when you need to make it a priority to onboard some help or to get your team working with you or for you in different ways. Okay, does that make sense, Daniel?
Yep, absolutely got it.
Yeah, if you are at max capacity in all these areas, then this means you have to take a little breathing space to find the right people and onboard the right people. And some of us slash you will be nervous about not taking on new clients during a certain time period. If pathways is your focus, serve your people in a world-class way, but don't take on new people. Put up some sort of a waiting list or announce to your audience that you have a waiting list and that you will reopen on a certain day. What will that do? Does anybody know? Do you have any ideas what that will do, Daniel?
Yeah, can charge more FOMO and also move the prospects to M3 or M4 or whatever.
Yep, you can raise prices for when you reopen. The FOMO means your list will build urgency and anticipation. And it also gives you a little breather from marketing stuff so that you can focus on what you want it to look like differently when you are scaling it up. Waiting list always grows my business. Always. It has. I discovered that in 2001 and I thought it was crazy. I was a little nervous, but I was growing at a pace I couldn't keep up with fulfillment wise. So I paused enrollments for 2 months, put up a waiting list. And when somebody would contact us and say, oh, we don't want to be on the waiting list, I would say, well, that's okay. I don't want you to have to wait on us. Here are 3 competitors that you can work with. In the meantime, nobody ever went and worked with those competitors. They waited on us but because of the velvet rope. So don't be afraid to take a little breather in your successful business to serve your current people, but create a waiting list or a velvet rope or some kind of hyper urgency around that. But do make it a priority to find world-class people to work with you to help you fulfill and scale so that when you open back up, you can breathe better and you're not as overwhelmed by operations. Does that make sense, Daniel?
Absolutely. Thanks a lot.
You're so welcome. Okay, who else has a question? Anybody else have a question? Is this making sense to you? Type yes or aha in the chat. Yes or aha. Okay. So then I want you to tell me, since you guys are camera shy and mic shy, tell me something you've already loved or learned or you're going to implement. Something you've loved, learned, or going to implement. Oh, I like the yes, ma'am. Thanks, Andrew. I'm a Southern girl. Has nothing to do with my age. Everything to do with Southern manners. Okay, something you love, something you learned, something you're going to implement. What are you going to implement? Tell me, because coaching without action is just entertainment. Naima says a single focus for the quarter. Yep. And Naima, if I hit my numbers early or I hit my benchmarks early, then I reevaluate and I may change that before the quarter is over. Nothing wrong with that. Ordering them. Yeah, you have to rank them in your business. You are the CEO. You are the CEO. Let me tell you this. This is another thing. You're going to want to write things down when we talk. Because since I'm a speaker, I sometimes have little tweets that you're going to want to keep. You will never make an executive income with a hobby mindset. And if you keep treating your business building like a hobby, you will never make an executive income, whatever that means to you, whatever that executive income means to you. I'm not going to assign that number. You assign that number, but you will never hit it as long as you're just fitting it in the cracks. Okay, delegate the rest of the M's. Yes, that's typically what I do. My 1 and 2, I am really heavily vested in. Everything else, I either delegate it or give myself permission to wait on it till later. My website has needed to be updated for about 4 years. And guess what? I'm still in business and I'm still making money. And I just don't send people to the website. I send them to a lead page or to a call with me. And I'm still doing okay, still paying the bills. It's awesome. So stop waiting on logos. And I don't think I've ever even had an official logo in 23 years. I could be wrong. I really don't think I have. A Trello board so I can see everything and a plan. Great. If Trello board works for you. For me, that's another software to learn. So I'll put a poster on the wall. I'm old school like that. I like markers. Naima, I think words matter. Names matter. I think it's important that we have identity. Harry says implementing the priorities. The long funnel builds can wait. I'm going for prospects. Yes. Remember, a funnel can be a webinar to a sales call to a sale. That's a minimally viable funnel. It doesn't have to be complicated. The people that love to make funnels complicated are the people that make money from teaching you about funnels and selling you their software. Shh, they're friends of mine, but it's true. Okay. Eddie says it gives you a value-based reason to say no to opportunities that aren't right for you at this time. That's correct, Eddie. That's absolutely correct. Because one of the things we fall prey to is vanity marketing. Vanity marketing and ego FOMO. Ooh, but I could go to that event with so-and-so bigwig. Ooh, I could be on that summit with so-and-so bigwig. Ooh, that'll give me some exposure. I've been doing this a long time. I'm going to be 50 in March, and I will tell you I've never paid my mortgage with exposure, ever. Only with meaningful value assigned action in my business. End of story. Learn the script to say no for now. Yeah. So here's another we'll do a white hat and a black hat script. You ready? The white hat is, thanks so much for thinking of me. That doesn't really fit in with what I'm focused on this quarter. However, if you want to do it in the future. However, I would love to revisit this next year when you put this event on again, or I would love to revisit this next quarter. Let me put this in my notes to follow up with you in 3 months. If you don't want to do it, if it's not a fit for you, then you can say, hey, let me send you to a few other people that might fit in better with their model. If it's something that you really don't love the values of or don't want to be associated with, send them to a competitor that you don't love. I'm just saying. There are ways. I do have a little bit of Southern Belle in me. There are ways to throw shade, and you don't have to throw shade. But my point is, you can say no and always be the hero. You're either focused on your business. Thank you for thinking of me. I'm so flattered. I don't take that for granted. Can I help you find somebody else, or should we revisit this in a few more months? And then you're not missing it forever. It's just not for now, right? Scripts are important. It doesn't mean you have to say them exactly that same way. It's the motive behind the script. You want to help them out, and you want to feel good about sticking to what you need to stick to for your business. And you want to help them out. However, you cannot help them out to the detriment of your own business. Now, I am telling you this as someone who violated my own rule on this recently and said no to somebody because I said yes to somebody because I wanted to help them out, but it did not align with my motive matrix. And they have been the most high maintenance. It has been like being pecked to death by a chicken, because everything they ask, every hoop I have to jump through for this thing that I'm doing with them is painful, and I resent it. And it's not adding to my core motives right now. And so I know better. And I did it anyway. So write this down. I am not a social worker. I cannot help everyone. I am not a social worker. I cannot help everyone. Thank you for thinking of me. I recommend you fix your funnel and tweak your logo. That's perfect. Can I recommend you to an expert that can help you with that? You are not a social worker. You can't help everybody. You are looking to work with people that want to ride on a rocket ship and make a big difference in what they're doing. Stop pulling people off the struggle bus and stop helping people on the struggle bus. It's not your business model. Okay, who else has an aha or something you're going to implement right away? Crystal clear on what your M1 and your M2 are, and you know what you're going to do. Anyone? Okay, we're gonna have to train you guys to be more interactive. I'm used to a chatty kind of room.
Oh.
All right. Oh, who's saying something? Say it. Yes? No? Okay. All right. So now what we want to look at is, depending on, type in the chat what your 3 leftovers are. So not your M1, not your M2. What are your leftovers? Type those in the chat. You don't have to say them, just type them in the chat. You guys can do that. Even if you can't be on the camera, you can do that. What are your 3 leftovers? So in this example up here, our leftovers would be platform, pathways, and prospects. Type them in the chat, and then we're going to do another exercise. And pathways. Okay, got it? Are you clear on this? Now, anything that falls under these 3 categories for this quarter that you're not focused on, how can you delegate it or automate it or leave it? How can you delegate it or automate it or leave it? Delegate it, automate it, or leave it. Platform. If you need social proof, if you need proof of concept, you could automate it by using something like Video Ask. Like Video Ask. You could put Video Ask behind a registration page or an opt-in page or a sign-up page that says, hey, this is Carrie. Thanks so much for registering for this presentation. Tell me, what is one thing that moved you to asking for help today? What's the one thing that moved you to ask for help today, and why are you excited about this? Go ahead and leave that comment below, and I look forward to seeing that. I can automate pulling social proof out of a process that I already have. Because, Harry, when they sign up for that webinar and they say, ooh, I want to learn your process for generating leads organically without having to know all the funnels, then you can post it like, here's what registrants for the webinar are saying. This is what they're excited to learn. That's building your authority, credibility, and platform, like Drew talked about earlier. That's a way to build authority. If other people say nice things about you in social media or comment things in social media, star those, screenshot those, use those, put them in autoresponders, put them as part of your content that you're sharing. You don't necessarily have to go solicit new things, but if you do, how can you automate it? How could you delegate it? Do you have a VA or a superstar client that you could say, hey, we need to collect some case studies or some social proof that the model that we're using is working. Could you bring 10 examples in to the meeting on Friday? How could you delegate it? Or do you leave it alone? Have somebody go dig through your email and find these things. Somebody go dig through. I just sent that to my VA a couple weeks ago. Hey, go through the happy file. That's what I call it. Go through the happy file for the last 20 years and find some testimonials that specifically mention this, this, or this. I'm looking for some social proof. And I delegated it and it was done, and I didn't have to spend my to-do time doing that. Prospects. How can you delegate, automate, or leave it alone? As a business coach, I'll tell you, your best prospects are probably some of the prospects you already have. You're probably not making enough offers or charging them enough. You may not need as many new people as you think, but how could you delegate it? How could you automate it? You could delegate and have somebody on your team commenting in groups and sharing lead magnets and bringing back emails. You could have somebody in your team monitoring your ads or, pushing them to engage. You could, there's lots of things that you could do to automate prospects with lead magnets and those kind of things, and you can delegate those things. How can you delegate, automate it, or leave it to later, so that it's running even while you're not having to run it? And let's be clear on our definition of automation. Automation just means you personally are not having to do it. It may be a human that's doing it, but it doesn't have to be you. That's automation. It doesn't have to be technologically driven. Pathways. How can you delegate it, automate it, or wait till later? Now, do we have any nerds in the room? I'm kind of a nerd about some things. Do we have any like technical nerds, or you really like to geek out on software? I know that's probably more than half of this room. You guys do it and you don't want to delegate it because you love to push the buttons. Who loves to push the buttons and tweak the things? Type in the chat. This is confessional. We have client attorney privilege. I will not tell. Yeah. Okay, this is probably eating up a lot of your time. So another way, if you really have a hard time or don't have a budget or refuse to delegate, then I'm going to say you should be using the carrot method. Write this down, the carrot method. I'm not an artist, but we're going to pretend that this is a carrot. The carrot method. What does that mean? This means you have to earn time to nerd out. You have to earn time to work on those other areas. You have to lead yourself first, discipline yourself to focus on M1 and M2. And then does anybody remember being a kid and their mom saying, or their teacher saying, after you finish with that, then you can have a snack or play outside or have the new toy or whatever that looks like. Does anybody remember the reward method for behavior and training yourself self-management? Anybody else's parents or teachers did that? You know they did. Well, then you became an entrepreneur and you're like, what the heck? I'm going to do what I want when I want. Right? Nobody can tell me what to do. You're not the boss of me. Well, now we have a new boss. The M1 and the M2 are the CEO. They're telling you what to do and when. If you want to work on these other things or add or tweak other things, you break it up into 30 to 45-minute reward chunks, and you only earn that carrot when you have hit X target for the day or accomplished Y for the week. You have to reward yourself with that. You have to go back to elementary school self-management because some of us are doing a really crappy job managing ourselves. Type yes in the chat if you know I am right. You don't have to make eye contact with me. Just type yes in the chat if you know that that's biting you in the butt. Yep. So you have to reward yourself. And I know that sounds really weird, but I do this with home improvement products. I'm a DIY, like house flipper kind of nerd, and I love to knock out walls and rewire things and remodel and redecorate. But I only let myself when I hit certain targets in my business. My husband says, it makes no sense to me that you reward yourself with like painting and stripping and knocking things down. You reward yourself with other hard work. That doesn't make any sense to me. But it's something I enjoy and something that I love and something that I would spend all day doing and avoiding my real work if I really got into it because it fuels me. So instead, I have to use it as a reward. Justin says, Shauna was an elementary teacher and used this on me when I was first starting out. We still use this strategy to reach new goals and get new rewards. Yeah, because it works. We just forget that. When we become the boss of ourselves, we forget that. And so I'm going to suggest that if you still want to work on these things, you still want to have your hands in the funnels or the tweaking or the logo or whatever it is, use it as a carrot for yourself. Like you can't go fishing until you finish your chores, right? You can't go funneling until you finish your prospecting or until you create your product. So write down 3 carrots that might be useful for you. Write down 3 carrots that might be useful for you, either on your business or personally. 3 carrots, write them down. So for me, I use DIY projects. I use learning a new tech skill. I learn one a week every Saturday morning. I'm a nerd like that. And then the other thing I have to use is social media because I get chatty. So I only let myself go do social media after I've hit some other benchmarks. And then I set a timer for that. only let myself have X amount of time. Okay, share some of your carrots in the chat. What did some of y'all come up with? They're probably all different, but what kind of carrots did you come up with? Let's see them. 5 guys, yum, yum. Okay, anybody else? Working on my website, yep. Making funny jingles, working on the podcast, tweaking logos, yep. Dinner out with the wife, nice. I would say that's probably important enough to be an appointment though also, Ryan. I'm just saying dating should be an appointment. Graphic design, yeah. So I actually studied graphic design in college, but I don't do any of my own design because if I do, I get lost in it and it takes too long and I perfectionist and then I take it personally. And so I don't do any of, I don't even have the software on my computer. I hire it all out just because I know myself. I have an addictive personality. A dinner in the house is an appointment for sure. Yes. Yeah, it's unprofitable to tweak it for sure. Okay, so you have to have these carrots. You have to write them down and then you have to discipline yourself. Here's what you have to stop. You have to stop saying, I deserve to watch this show because XYZ, and rewarding yourself in advance. When you reward yourself in advance, it never works. You always let yourself off the hook. Reward comes after. Deserve comes after. And you will see some monumental shifts in what you're doing. And it may be that when you're really focused on M1 and M2, you only have to do like 2 hours a day to make some big progress in what you're doing. Some of you have stuff that's been on your to-do list for weeks and weeks and months and months. Am I right? Or am I the only one? Am I the only one? Or you guys too? Yeah. Okay, so find a way to delegate it, automate it, or leave it alone. And then you have to know what your carrots are. Your carrots will probably change some. They probably will evolve depending on where you are at your station in your life. And at some point, you'll get tired of it be your reward being funnels and you'll outsource that. Or maybe you'll take over funnels and outsource delivery or outsource something else. But this is a way to keep in your brain what you're working on now, even when the to-do list seems overwhelming. And then the only thing you're allowed to put on your to-do list the night before for tomorrow are things that feature M1 or M2. You're not allowed to put, send this to so-and-so. Doesn't mean it doesn't need to get done. It means it can't be one of the first 3 things you do when you sit down. That has to fit into other blocks of time. What do I mean by other blocks of time? The other blocks of time come in between the chunks of productive time. So let's say you focus 45 minutes on M1, and then you have a 10-minute buffer for a bio break, a snack, and then other, which means send 4 emails to so-and-so and reach out to so-and-so and do whatever. And then you come back and you do 45 more minutes, and maybe you're working on M1 or M2, okay? It means not having your email open all day, not having your social notifications open all day. It means really buckling down and focusing on your CEO time.